The air in the auction hall was thick with the stench of sweat, desperation, and burnt circuitry. The grand market of Ulan-Siv was a lawless place, hidden in the folds of deep space where the galaxy's worst thrived. Here, the powerful feasted on the weak, and the unfortunate were sold like commodities. Neria stood on the auction block, shackled and bruised, her violet skin marred with fresh scars. The collar around her throat hummed with control impulses, one thought out of line, and pain would lace through her nerves like wildfire. She had been here for days, paraded like livestock for the rich and depraved. Slavers barked bids in guttural languages as leering eyes roved over her body. She had heard the stories, what happened to slaves bought here. Death was a mercy compared to the fate awaiting those who were exotic. Her people, the Theri, were rare in this part of the galaxy, and that made her valuable. The auctioneer's voice cut through the murmur. 4,000 credits. Do I hear 5? This one is strong, defiant, needs breaking in. But oh, what a prize she'll make for the right master. Laughter, jeers, murmurs of interest. Neria clenched her fists, her two hearts pounding. She was ready to fight, even though she knew it was hopeless. Then, a new voice entered the fray. Deep, calm, and undeniably human. 10,000. Silence fell. The bidders turned to see the stranger. A human male, middle-aged, dressed in a simple but well-worn long coat. His beard was graying, his face weathered. His expression was unreadable, but his stance was solid, unshaken. The auctioneer licked his lips, startled by the sudden escalation. A bold bid. Do I hear 11? None dared. The price was already high for a single slave. After a pause, the gavel fell. Sold. Neria's breath caught. This human bought me. Why? What does he want? She expected him to drag her away like the others before him had done with their prizes. But instead, he merely gave the slaver a hard glare. Unshackle her. Now. The slaver hesitated. But Now, the human repeated, and this time, something in his tone sent a ripple of unease through the brute. The shackle locks hissed open. For the first time in weeks, Neria stood without chains. This is a trick. It has to be. The human nodded toward the exit. Come on. Let's go. She didn't move. Where? He met her eyes. Somewhere safe. The escape. The journey through the station was a blur. Neria had no reason to trust him, but for now, she followed. He walked with purpose, weaving through the filth of Ulan-Siv like someone who had done this before. Slavers and guards barely looked at him. They reached a docking bay, and she saw it, a ship. A human-made freighter, old but sturdy. As they stepped inside, the human sealed the hatch. The moment it locked, he let out a slow breath. We're clear. Neria tensed. You paid a fortune for me. What do you want? He hesitated, then sighed. Nothing. She laughed bitterly. Nothing? No one pays that much for a slave unless they want something. He leaned against a crate. I don't keep slaves. She frowned. Then why buy me? His gaze darkened, as if remembering something painful. Because I've seen too many left behind. Neria searched his face. He wasn't lying, but it didn't make sense. Who are you? He hesitated before answering. Jonas Vale. She had heard of humans. Traders, explorers, mercenaries. Some were cruel, some were kind, but none had ever done this. She folded her arms. And now what? You just set me free. Jonas smiled slightly. If that's what you want. Freedom. The word felt foreign. She had been taken so long ago that she had forgotten what it even meant. Jonas walked to a panel and pressed a few buttons. We're leaving this place. The ship hummed to life. Neria watched him closely. He had saved her, yes. But why? A debt of blood. A day passed in uneasy silence. Neria stayed in the quarters Jonas had given her. He didn't lock her in. He didn't even check on her. The collar was gone. The ship's controls were open to her. She was free to leave at any time. Yet she stayed. Finally, she found him in the cockpit. He was scanning a nav chart, deep in thought. "You're different," she said, breaking the silence. Jonas glanced at her. "How so? You don't act like most humans." His mouth twitched in amusement. "Good." She studied him. "Why did you really save me?" He exhaled. "Because once someone saved me." Neria frowned. "What happened?" Jonas hesitated. Then he spoke. "I was a soldier. A long time ago. On a planet called Luther 7, my squad was ambushed. We should have died. But someone, an alien, pulled me out of the wreckage and got me to safety. She didn't have to. Her people were enemies of mine. But she did." Neria's chest tightened. "What happened to her?" "She died," Jonas said quietly. "Because of me." Silence. Neria understood. He was carrying a debt, one that could never be repaid. "I don't owe you anything," she said finally. Jonas nodded. "I know." She stared at him a moment longer. Then she made a choice. "I'm staying." Jonas arched a brow. "You don't have to." "I know." She stepped forward. "But I want to." He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. The final hunt. Weeks passed. Neria learned the ship, helped maintain it, and, against her expectations, grew to trust Jonas. But peace was short-lived. A bounty was placed on Neria. The slavers wanted her back. The attack came swiftly, 3 ships, weapons charged. Jonas barely had time to react before the ship was hit. "Damn it, hang on." Jonas yanked the controls, dodging plasma fire. "They tracked us." Neria gritted her teeth. "They won't stop." Jonas's eyes darkened. "Then we ended." The battle was brutal. Jonas was a skilled pilot, but they were outgunned. The freighter wasn't built for combat. A direct hit sent them spiraling. Then Neria saw an opening. "The engines, disable theirs," she shouted. Jonas understood. He swerved, fired, and a lucky shot crippled the lead slaver ship. The others hesitated. That was their mistake. Jonas unleashed everything the freighter had left. Explosions rocked the blackness. Then silence. The enemy was gone. Jonas slumped back, breathing hard. That was close. Neria exhaled, then smirked. "Not bad for a human." He chuckled. "Not bad for an ex-slave." She sat beside him, the adrenaline fading. They were free. For the first time in a long while, Neria felt something she hadn't dared to before. Hope. She looked at Jonas. "So, where to next?" He grinned. "Anywhere we want." And with that, the ship disappeared into the stars.